Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the In Between the Numbers Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Daryl, and I hope everyone's having a good day. So, before we jump into this episode, I just want to say if you haven't already liked or subscribed to the channel, please do so. With every like and every subscription, it helps the channel grow. I appreciate everyone who's liked and enjoyed the comments so far. But yeah, go ahead and give um, the channel a like, and you should consider subscribing. All right, so the number 19 LSU Tigers is set to clash with Army, right? It's going to be the first time LSU's played Army since 1931, and it's going to be the first time they've played each other in Death Valley. Previously, LSU played the Army in 1931. It's a long time ago, and the Army beat them 20-0 uh, on the Army's home turf. And so this is I guess you can say this one's been a long time coming for LSU, right? To get opportunity to get an opportunity to I guess you can say even the series or whatnot. Also, I don't know if you have seen, but LSU did a heck of a tribute to the Army, right? They decided to paint the end zones camo, right? With the Army camo, right? And so for that, I have to, salute LSU. Me, myself, I'm active duty military myself. I'm active duty Navy, not Army, but um, you got to recognize what LSU did for the Army, right? Giving a tribute to the men and women of the Army Academy, right? And just giving the men and this to me, I feel like it's a salute to all military members, right? LSU did not have to do that. They did not have to change their end zone to um, honor the Army, right? They could have just simply left the end zone purple or whatever other color they wanted to, but they did Army camo, and for that, I have to say that I greatly appreciate LSU doing that coming from active duty Navy sailor. So um, big shout out to Brian Kelly and the men and women at LSU football operations for doing that with the field. I'm pretty sure the Army and the players are going to greatly appreciate that. So yeah, so moving on, LSU is facing Army, right? And Army has only won 2 games, right? So the Army is 2-4. But uh, you know, LSU at one time lost to Troy, right? So you can never, ever, ever discount your opponent, right? You should always respect your opponent. You should always, never underestimate your opponent, right? Although Army has won 2 games and lost four, the Army has they have a very unique offense, right? All the service academies have a unique offense because the service academies, if you don't know, all of those men and women, and all of the service academies right now only have men playing for them on the football team, but all of those men they have to go into active service after they play after college, right? So the military academy, all of them have to go into the service, whether they're going to be an officer in the Navy, an officer in the Marine Corps, the Army, or the Air Force, right? They have to go into active service, so they have a weight requirement, right? Us in the military, we have weight standards, so we have to be a certain height and weight, right? Obviously the military can't control your height, but they do ask you to control your weight. So that's why you don't. That's why the Army doesn't have, uh, you know, the biggest players, right? Because those guys have to maintain a certain weight standard. And let's face it, right? Let's be real. The service academies, like the Army, they don't get the best players because a lot of the top, offensive and defensive recruits out of high school, they don't want to go to the service academies. You have to commit to military service after the service academy, unless you're just a unicorn. And when I say a unicorn, you have to be someone who's, pretty much projected to be a high draft pick in the NFL. I think Congress actually passed a law that said that if player at the service academy is projected to go super high in the NFL, they can forego their military service and go play in the NFL. Something like that. I know they can go play, but I think they have to do their reserve duty in the off season or something like that. But so a lot of those players, right? Those good players, those highly recruited players, they don't go to the Army, they don't go to the Navy, they don't go to the Air Force academies. They go to Alabama, LSU, um, you know, Florida State, all of those other colleges. So that's why most times you see these service academies, it is what it is. They can't run all of these exotic offenses because they're not always gifted at quarterback. They're not always gifted at wide receiver. They're more so focused on running the ball, right? And so when you have smaller linemen, offensive linemen in the trenches, you can run offenses like the triple option and the wing T offense and the wishbone. A lot of those offenses that you see the service academies run, especially if you watch the Army versus Navy game. The reason why those games are so competitive because both teams run the same offense, so their defenses are used to um, defending that type of offense. But for LSU's defense, right, the key to this Army offense, to stopping this Army offense, is eye discipline, right? The LSU defensive backfield, right? The linebackers, right? And the safeties on the corners, they have to be making sure that they're paying attention to where the ball is, right? And in this offense, right? Um, certain players are going to give you keys, right? So the guards, right? So if a guard pulls, right? Um, sometimes, most times, if the guard is pulling, um, that's where the play is going, right? That's where the ball is going, right? The Army is looking to get their big guards out in front of those running backs and get a hat on a hat with LSU's blockers and open up seams and creases for the running backs to run through. Those running backs for the service academies are always good. They're always fast. They're always tough nosed, hard running running backs. So if LSU's linebackers and defensive backs are not keying in on the proper keys, taking their proper run fits, taking proper angles, taking on blockers, right? The Army can break off some long runs, right? And we all know that LSU's defense hasn't been the best this season. Now they have greatly improved, and it seems like they have turned the corner. Knock on wood. Um, from the last game versus Auburn, right? They dominated Auburn. LSU hired Pete Jenkins, and it seems like the defensive line is, responding, and the defense in general is responding, right? So, um, you know, good on them. I don't want to speak too fast because it was just Auburn, right? But there still is a lot of games left to be played, and so far the defense looks like they have turned a corner or have at least made some improvements. But going back to Army with this offense, you have to be disciplined with your eyes. And for the defensive line, right, those offensive linemen are going to be going at their knees, right? They're going to be going at their knees. They're going to be doing a lot of down blocking, right? They're going to be doing a lot of combo blocking, double teams, kickouts, traps, all of that stuff, right? So those guys on the D line, Mason Smith, Wingo, all of those guys, right? They're going to have to be. It's going to be a fight, right? You have to think. Um, Army is going to be a feisty team, right? Like again, these guys are all going to be officers, right? They're going to be officers in the military. They're going to be responsible for leading troops into combat, right? And so these guys are coming in not only with to me way more. They've done with they have dealt with you know they have a stricter regimen at the service academies, right? They have a stricter regimen, right? A lot of these guys don't have NIL deals. The academics and the curriculum at the Army Academy is super, super stringent, right? And they already know that everybody's going to be taking them as a joke, right? So they're going to be giving Mason Smith and Trey Wingo and all those guys, Harold Perkins, their best shot, right? They're going to be really, really physical because we're talking about, um, you know, some of these guys are going to go on to be elite people, elite service members in the military, right? They're going to be Army Rangers, they're going to be Green Berets, they're going to be Delta Force, Lieutenant of Infantrymen, and all of that stuff, right? So these guys are going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. They know that everyone is counting them out, and they're going to come in and they're going to look to be physical with LSU. And like I said, um, LSU has to be disciplined with their eyes on defense because if they don't, next thing you know, you're going to see a running back running it straight up the middle or down the sideline for a big gain, right? Um, the Army is not much of a passing threat, right? They just don't do very well at passing the ball. The wide receivers be having like maybe 20 receptions between all of them, right? They don't throw the ball a lot. They do a lot of blocking, but they're going to be a disciplined team. They're going to be very, very well coached. Like I said, very disciplined, and they're gonna look to bloody the nose of LSU, of this Tigers team. Do I think the Army will beat LSU? I say no, but I hope LSU isn't overlooking the Army because Let's be honest, right? If LSU defense comes out to play right, if I'm not really worried about the offense. The offense has been playing at an elite level. Jaden Daniels is the best college quarterback in the country, right? So I look for the offense to, play at a high level versus the Army. But if both sides of the ball come to play, right? Well, all three phases of the ball, right? LSU's offense come to play, the defense come to play, and the special teams. There should be no reason why Jaden Daniels should be in the game at halftime after halftime. I'm just keeping it real. I respect the Army, right? Again, I'm active duty military. I'm in the Navy. I respect the Army. I respect the service academies, but again, the talent and the depth of talent on LSU side is way better than the Army, and that's okay. And but Jaden Daniels should not be in the game after halftime. Um, Nussmeier's second half, right? Those guys should be on the sideline, getting ready to go into the bye, and just it should be a short day for LSU. But they have to handle business in the first and the second quarter, right? They have to handle business. The defense has to be disciplined. They have to tackle, and they just have to be locked in. They cannot walk into this game taking the Army lightly, right? Because again, those guys bleed red just like LSU's guys bleed red. They're human. Their heart beat blood. Their heart pumps blood and all of that stuff, right? They're men. It's football. It's a battle, and they're going to be looking to bloody the nose of LSU, and LSU has to come in and be locked in. The end zone being painted camo is a nice gesture by LSU, but they have to play ball. And if they don't take the Army serious, you know, it's on any given Sunday for football and any given Sunday any given Saturday for college football or any given Sunday for NFL football, you can lose. Again, LSU lost to Troy. Anything can happen. Do I expect them to lose the Army? No, but they cannot overlook the Army, right? Because um, the Army can and will look to come out and play physical football with LSU. So, yep, just wanted to get on here and kind of give a preview of what I think, LSU should do on defense, right? What the team should do. But hey, we have to see, right? We have to see what LSU do. I think LSU wins, right? But they have to come out and not overlook the Army, right? And they have to come out and be ready for a physical, tough battle in the trenches, and get ready to, tackle some running backs. So the Army's going to try to run it down LSU's throat. So, yeah, so that's it for that's it for today's episode. Again, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Uh, give the video a like, give it a dislike. Let me know how you feel about it. Right, all criticism is good criticism to me. I can take criticism, but let me know in the comment section below um, how you feel about this game. Right, how you feel about Army versus LSU. Let me know some of the things that you look to see from this LSU team, or some things that you think LSU should be focused on, and look to execute versus this Army team. As always, until next time, this has been the In Between the Number Sports Podcast, and I'm your host, Daryl, and I'm out.